I know the biggest question on everyone's mind is how I became a homemaker and why did I become a homemaker in middle age? Isn't that backwards? Yes, yes, it is. I haven't introduced myself in a while. My name is Alicia, and I live in Tennessee, and I am a 47-year-old housewife. So, how did I get here? The long-awaited question. How did I get here? Um, it was not intended for me to get here, believe it or not. So, I've been married 21 years, and when we got married, we're a blended family. So my son was 6 and his son was 4. Um, I worked third shift. I had already worked third shift before that. Um, but when I came into the marriage, I was working third shift. He was working days. So we were a working family doing the normal things. So my day looked like going to bed at like, when did I go to bed? 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, waking up at 9, going straight to work because I worked in a bakery cafe. I got there soon enough. You got your food for free, so I would just get some soup and whatever, eat, and then go straight into baking. Um, do that. Get out at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and then rush home, right? And then my husband would go straight to work as soon as I left. So we didn't have daycare, and I stayed working third shift so that we would not have daycare because daycare is astronomical. We all know this. So that was one way we skirted that. So that was the schedule as far as navigating children. Um, my day when I got home, up until maybe they were in middle school, uh, yeah, I would say changing middle school. So before that, by the time I would get home, um, we're getting the kids to school because did they have a bus at the time? We live in an area where like some kids get bused and some kids don't. So I'm trying to remember here. It's been a while. uh, no, at that time they got bused. So we had to make sure I made sure that they got a bus because my husband was already off to work. Um, so did that, and then at that point I had like a 5-6 hour gap where I can like get things done before I settle down and take a melatonin and then make sure I'm up before the kids got home so I can go to sleep. So there was a lot of sleep deprivation there, which is why my memory's a little fuzzy. And if you work third shift and have to deal with kids and deal with house stuff, then I'm pretty sure you understand. So yeah, during that period of time, that was when I would cook. So what did I cook? I would cook things that were easily reheatable, or things that could go in the fridge and will come out. Everything, I shouldn't say everything. 90% of what I made when the kids were younger was made from scratch, and I purposely did that. Purposely, like that was my thing that I did because, and I know some people are gonna come at me in the comments. You do what you gotta do, feed my algorithm. Um, I was of the belief that if I fed my kids from scratch, uh, they would be less sick. And I'm gonna tell you, they were hardly sick while they were in school. So that worked for my family. You do you. I am not attacking you. If you're a chicken nugget family, I don't care. That I am not attacking you. So please don't come at me in the comments for that. So yeah, I would cook things like there's a lot of soup. What else did I do? Like I would make like things that were chicken, rice, veg, whatever things that they could heat, like that my husband could heat up when he got home because I was already asleep. Salads, so salads just pull out. I always made sure there was a salad most of the time with food. But we had to keep it cheap because we were broke. That's another thing that people, I think, the one of the misconceptions about being a homemaker is that there's money. No, we were actually really broke. So that's one of the reasons why we worked at the time. Um, Just because I wasn't a housemaker at the time. It was just we were broke. Uh, we had a couple of Christmases where like we go and get the kids a couple of things, and we were looking at each other, and that was it. It's like this. We've been there. So when it comes to the food, like yeah, I made everything from scratch, but everything was also cheap, as cheap as I could make it. It did help that I worked in a restaurant because I could bring some things home. Not everything, but I could bring bread home, so that was helpful because we got like $10 a day for free, whatever was in the place, right? As long as it wasn't like a supply that was in the cooler. So like I can't come home with like a block of cheese or something, like that, or big old thing of meat. But anything that was made or baked, I could bring home fresh. So that helped a lot. So we did that. Brought home a lot of bread, pastries for the kids, uh, things like that. What else did I do? We had a lot of pasta nights when they were little. Um, Always with salad, but pasta's easy and they could do it themselves. So that gave me a break. Uh, if we really felt extravagant, which wasn't very often, um, frozen pizzas. Yeah. So when you got two growing boys, you gotta figure out, okay, what's cheap and also filling. So that pasta and the frozen pizzas, um, buffets are great for kids that are at that age where they're really starting to grow. But I digress. It was pretty much like that for most of the time. I didn't quit that job until, oh boy. Okay, there's a little bit of a story there. So I quit in 2010. I was a manager, and they called me back, begging me to come back. So I came back, and I did it for like another year and a half or so, and I quit for good. So that was 2012. I was not a housemate. Housemate, of course, I'm a housemate. I was not a housewife yet. And so at this point, I'm having a career dilemma because this was the beginning of people starting to do a lot of job switching, and I was one of those that was there for the long run. And so, like, trying to find a job that suited me for more than like a year was really hard, and I haven't been able to find anything since, which is another reason why I'm a housewife now. But let's go back. So, quit that job in 2012 officially, worked another job. So this time, I'm a day walker. So if you've worked third shift for a significant amount of time, and now you're a day walker, that's a change. Not only that, but I had holidays off. What? I didn't know that I could have a holiday off. What was that? Right? Weekends. I had weekends off. What? Oh, I felt like I was on top of the world. So that was my life then. But we still had to navigate the kids. At this time, though, they were taking care of themselves for the most part. They're like middle school, going into high school. So they could get their own butts up, get their own breakfast, make their lunches. Okay. At this point, as we're going through the years, I'm also teaching them how to do things in the house. That's a huge, I don't care what age group you're in, you know, um, as far as housewifing, you gotta teach your kids how to do stuff. Please, for the love of God. Laundry ain't hard. Teach them to do laundry. So they knew how to do their laundry. They knew how to make their own lunches. And by the time my oldest was hmm, 12, 13, I was teaching them how to cook. Because I'm not putting boys out in the world whenever they go out to the world. That's a whole other story. Without knowing how to do things, we're not playing that game. So they knew how to mow the lawn, do yard work, but age appropriate. And I think a lot of people, it seems to me, a lot of people baby their kids, and so they think that what's age appropriate is, they need to be older than what they are. No, not really. You can do laundry at 9 years old. It's fine. You can mow the lawn at 12 years old. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Unless you got some riding lawnmower. I don't know nothing about those. Maybe that's more of an older kid thing. I don't know. But I'm teaching my kids to do things at this point. So my life is getting easier as I'm navigating, um, you know, work and trying to figure out what I'm doing in my career. And, my husband's doing his career. And, you know, so how did I get into being a housewife? Okay, so fast forward, two more jobs, all food related. And my last job, I worked at a French bakery, and there was just so much drama. And I was like, I cannot do this anymore. What can I do that can make money? And I was like, okay, well, I can crochet. I'm learning how to knit. I can try to sell stuff on Etsy. I told a friend about this, and she gave me a look, and she was like, oh, that's really saturated. Listen, if you're trying to get into selling anything, everything is saturated. Everything. It doesn't matter. Just do it anyway. Do the thing. Don't let somebody crap on your dream because everything is saturated. Of course, it's saturated. We've all come up with the same ideas. Thing is, how are you doing it a little bit different from the next person? Now, it doesn't mean we go into competition with each other. That's not how it is. And I'm so glad we're in the world of collaborations now because that was not a good place to be for us women. Um, but everything is saturated. Just do it anyway. So I didn't listen to her, thank God, right? And I started selling things on Etsy. I was like, okay, so what do people want? I started making baby clothes, started making like shawls and stuff. And people think shawls, grandma stuff. And some people do wear that way. Well, a lot of times it's just a scarf. I do have a shawl right now. Let me show you. Okay, I'm allergic to alpaca, but I'm going to do this for you anyway. So, shawls, right? You have a shawl. You think when you see shawls, it's like stuff from TV, 1800s and stuff. They're all wearing it like that. And some people do, you know. But, believe it or not, a lot of people wear it like a scarf over their coat, like this. So, when you hear the word shawl, think about it like this. So, that's just an example. Anyway, so I was making all that stuff, and I was doing pretty decent. I wouldn't say I was doing well, but I was doing decent enough. Learned to knit, and then I got into hand dyed yarn, which was very much a luxury. So if you ever worked with yarn before, we're going from Red Heart to hand dyed yarn. There is a serious price difference there, right? I was like, okay, I got to learn how to do this because that would, help me out. So that's how I got into that. Now, housewifing. This is where I said in my last video, you got to have something on paper because really, at this point, you're only depending on how much work you're putting into something. Like with me, my actual like work, I was only putting in like 5 hours a day, if that, right? The rest of the time, I'm home doing what else am I doing? So since I'm home all day and I can get up and stop at any time, that's kind of where it morphed into being a housewife. So at this point, my kids were, my oldest was a junior, sophomore or junior in high school, and my youngest was in 8th grade. Okay. So yes, at that point, 2016, when I stopped working and started doing the Etsy thing, I officially became a housewife. It was not on paper yet as far as like my business stuff, but I was officially a housewife. So that's where all the things that I talked about in my last video were like, the expectations, the things that I do, the things that I don't do. That's how that started. But I didn't intend for it to be that way. I wanted to make money off of selling things, but I was not making enough. So then I had to hybrid myself between being a housewife and being um, a business owner. Does that make sense? Because if you're not bringing in a whole lot of money, right, but you're still doing the selling and stuff, but you're not bringing a whole lot of money, the housewifing overrides the business. And that's basically what happened with me for the last 10 years. Is that yes, I'm selling. Yes, I'm marketing. Yes, I'm doing things. People don't understand how much work goes into this, right? You're doing all of those things. But if you're not bringing in 40, 50, 60,000 a year, and with hand dyed yarn, I'm sorry, if you want to get into hand dyed yarn, you're not going to make that unless something huge happens for you. The average person ain't making that. Like if you're making like 20, 30 a year. But you got to have somebody at home who's also making money. So either way, you're not living off of this. So the housewifing is going to override the business. So you're kind of hybriding. So am I a 47-year-old housewife? Yes. Am I also a business owner? Technically, yes. Am I making money off the business? No. Housewifing overrides the business. So that's where I'm at. That's how that started in 2016. So yeah, that's why I say always have something on paper because if you have to go back to work like I did twice, you don't have a gap in your resume, which is why I'm hesitant to shut down my business officially. So yeah, is this housewifing backwards? I mean, according to society, it is housewifing backwards because usually when we think housewife, we're thinking, young married couple, babies, whatever, and they're the housewife. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am not shitting on that at all. Actually, my first marriage, I did that for a little bit, but we're not going to talk about the first marriage. That doesn't exist. So, yeah, typically it is. So it could be seen in reverse. Absolutely. Am I glad that it happened in reverse? Absolutely. I feel like I'm in a when I got into that position where I wasn't intending to become a housewife, I feel like I was in a better place mentally to be able to do it, in a better place financially, because as careers should go normally, my husband's career went up. My experience with stuff went up. Uh, Plus, I was able to spend that time as little money as I had. And I talked about this in my budgeting videos. As little money as I had, I was able to put my investment in certain things. Um, so I would not have been able to do that if I became a housewife first. So I'm glad for the experience to be able to work and actually like do a lot of sacrificing, um, to be able to get to that point, because now I'm in a place where I can do that and I feel more free, and I feel like it's more of I need to be careful with my words. I don't want to say a choice because everything is a choice. I just feel like for me, it was a better choice for that hybrid to have happened than if I became a housewife first. Because I feel like if I did that, I wouldn't have done the investing. I wouldn't have done, I feel like maybe my husband's career probably wouldn't have jumped as much. There's a lot of nuances in there. But I do feel like for me, it worked out better to be a housewife here. One thing I want to tell people who are starting out on the homemaking journey, um, regardless of how old you are when you start, is to make sure you've got something to fall back on. I do know that they talk about this a lot in a lot of these track life videos that I've come across, is that they're going in with no money, no degree, no nothing. And I think that's another reason why I'm glad that it happened for me later. Um, but regardless of how old you are when you do start this journey, I'm urging you, have a side hustle, have some kind of investment going on, have something that's in your name only, or if anything's going to be um, house, cars, whatever, make sure it's in both of your names and not just your spouse's name. House husbands too, because things happen, right? If you're going to be the one that stays home, regardless of your gender, you need to have something that is in your name. And if there's going to be shared things, make sure your name is on it and that, there's a responsibility for you. So that way, like if you end up having to split assets, you're not screwed. Make sure you've got your own money, investments, something before you even start down that journey, because it's much, much, much harder if you start off as a homemaker, have never done any of that stuff. That's my biggest advice to you, regardless, is have something. Even if it's not a lot, have something. I don't have a lot. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a lot. And I talked about that in my retirement video. I'm trying not to talk about things that I have not experienced. Do I feel like I'm okay right now? Yes. Can things happen? Yes. But make sure that you've got something in your name only. And if it's a house and a car and stuff, make sure it's in both of your names. And if somebody don't want to do that, well, honey, I'm sorry, that's a red flag. It's a red flag. Somebody is playing. So, anyway, that's all I got for today. Um, yeah. If you have questions, please ask them below. I will answer them if they are reasonable. And please like and subscribe. And I will see you later. Take care. Bye.